Okay, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha Allah, Koholoim La Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakahakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule well, and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. And just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan the Waf. It's coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And pretty much overall, a little ride and talk because I'm driving right now, so I'll be roughly paraphrasing scriptures. It'll be a quick one though. I was just listening to the elder in the GMS Memphis camp, and he was just going off into get some so-called black guy, and we say so-called black because no one's actually black. There's different shades of brown people, dark browns, light browns. Almost like a yellowish looking hue as well, but you know what I'm saying, our people come in those shades, and we're not actually black. We don't look like a damn car tire, and there's no such thing as white people. No one looks like a glass of milk, clouds in the sky on a beautiful day, or snow. Those people are actually pinkish to reddish in color, lighter shades of red to darker shades of red, and those colors are social constructs. Those are not ethnicities. Land masses are not ethnicities. Where you live doesn't make up who you are, because the Lord created 18 nations. All those nations have a biblical name or a biblical nationality, right? So, but what he was going into was overall, the so-called black man trying to save the so-called white man, because it dawned on me, when this gospel, this real truth, this 100% truth that's going out in the earth right now, this is the real gospel from the children of Israel, or the men of the Lord, Yahweh, which that's the true name of the Father, and through his son Yahushai, which is the true name of the Son, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus, which he's not a so-called blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy. The scriptures clearly describes him as a dark melanated man with woolly hair, with a deep voice, and that's what the elder was going into. And it just hit me in the spirit that this word has been going out for a few decades. Now it's real strong. Over these past 5 years, it's been real strong. People are really starting to take to it. And within these past 2 years, a lot of Christians are trying to come up against it and trying to, pretty much debunk it, so to speak. And they can't do anything with it because, this truth is just the truth. See, what they've been teaching for hundreds of years is that a so-called white man is coming to save everyone. And that's not biblical. That's not scriptural in the Bible, So that shit is being debunked on a weekend basis, a day-to-day basis, because there's too many Hebrew Israelite videos going out. There's too many Hebrew Israelites that are being awakened to this truth, and they can't stop it. And it's all prophetic. That's how we know. See, it's prophecy. They can't stop prophecy. So when you see, I've noticed that when you see so-called white people, they don't even run up on the camps no more, because they're pretty much done. They didn't use John 3:16, a couple of other little scriptures that they try and go to say, see, the Lord loves everybody and we can be saved too. But the reality is, some of them are really thinking to themselves like, well, what if this is true? So it's tormenting them. And I wanted to get this quick one real quick. Hebrews 4:12. It says, for the word of Yahweh is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So, and that goes for everybody that hears this word. You know what I'm saying? It cuts them, or they get it and it's sweet to them, so to speak. That's why it's a double-edged sword. So you have Edomites, that's their biblical nationality. The so-called white man's biblical nationality is Esau. He comes from Esau. And when they hear this word, they used, like I said again, they used to try and argue against it. And some of them still do, don't get me wrong. It's still a bunch of what they call Christian apologists out here still trying to, fight for that doofy-ass gospel that they've been lying to people about for so long, But a lot of these so-called white people, they hear it, and they brains get to turning, man. Like they be thinking like, well, what if they're right? If they're right, we're fucked. You know what I'm saying? Because they understand what they've done to us. Even though they may deny it, you know what I'm saying? You know, they don't want to admit, oh, that was long ago. They'll tell you shit like that. Let it go. No one is in slavery anymore. I didn't own slaves. But when you get to telling them, you know, reading certain scriptures like, you know, the Lord required the past, Revelation chapter 13, verse 10, where it talks about he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. They hear scriptures like that, and it cuts them, even though they may not want to admit it. You know, not all of them are gonna get it, but some of them get it. You know what I'm saying? Because it dawns on them. They really know that the history of what they've done to us as a people. Like, what if they really are the Israelites? We're fucked. What if they really are the Israelites? What if they really are these people that and they're confident on it, and they stand in their ground week in, weekend out, weekend in, weekend out, in all kinds of weather? You know, when they see Jake out in that snow, when they see Jake out there in that hot ass weather, you know, raining, and whether, you know, a little mist, you know, if it's raining too hard, you know, Jake ain't not going to be out there like that. You know, you want to protect your equipment. But I'm talking about just Jake standing strong day after day after day, because this camps that goes out throughout the week. But mainly it floods the world on Saturdays overall. That's when, you know, a lot of, the camps go out, which that's not the Sabbath. We know that that's not the Sabbath, or at least GMS knows that that's not the Sabbath. We don't see Friday sundown and Saturday sundown as the Sabbath. It's just a day that, you know, we go out because a lot of people are kind of off. You know, a lot of people are out here, you know what I'm saying, moving about and doing what they're doing. You know, a lot of shopping is going on, things of that nature. So, you know, hey, it's visibility. The men going out and sacrificing and putting their lives on the line, because people get angry when they hear this gospel. Why? Because this word is quick, it's powerful, and sharper than a two-edged sword. It cuts them to the bone. So see, when so-called white people hear this gospel, it's different from when so-called black people hear this gospel. Because so-called blacks, they've been brainwashed into thinking that they really believe that a so-called white man is coming to save them when he's the one that has them in captivity. And they have that Stockholm syndrome type of thinking when they're hearing the gospel. But when it comes to the so-called white man, you know, and woman, they don't have that Stockholm syndrome. Because why? They've been free to roam about, and this is their kingdom, and they don't have the oppression that we have. So when they hear that gospel, it's like, well, what if these guys are right? What if they're right? Because you used to see, I remember when I first came in this truth, man, there used to be all kinds of people running up on the camps. You don't even see nobody really running up on the camps no more. Nobody's even questioning anything. Nobody's, you know, it used to be, you know, I'm talking about crowds like rah-rah. Now all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, you be surprised if there's a person that walks up on the camp, man. They may ask about the, like, I was watching the elders, the elder apostle Tahar and elder apostle Gabar and the bishop, you know, they be out in New York, and it was a group of people that ran up on them, and they was asking about the signs. You know, when we have the signs out explaining who the camps are, and they was asking about those signs. But, you know, they went to asking a few questions, you know, you know what I'm saying? The apostle was like, yeah, we're going to get out of here in some spaceships or some UFOs. And that kind of threw them for a little bit of a loop, and they was out, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, the lady seen, you know, the sign. I think she seen Benjamin. And he, you know, the apostle was asking the older gentleman. He's like, dang, I think he was like, he was elderly. But he's like, dang, you don't know your tribe, you know? So, but that was kind of rare. You know, it's rare that people actually walk up on the camps. You know what I'm saying? I think the elder out in South Carolina, he probably gets more people walking up on him than any of the other camps that I've probably seen. The elder out in South Carolina, because he be out there, you know, on the beach, you know, at the beach, so to speak. You know, with the big Ferris wheel and all that shit. So it's a lot of traffic that flows through there. It's kind of like a tourism. And even in a spot that busy, people don't even really stop and talk to him like that no more. Every now and then you'll get somebody that's running up, you know, but they be trying to be sneaky, calculative, you know what I'm saying? They run up and try and get a one up trying to catch the elders off guard, and knowing full well they know what the camps are about. But they step in there and act as if they don't know nothing about this religion or this doctrine, so to speak. Oh, I never heard of it. But then they get to slipping, and that they done heard of it. So they try and slip in. But, the point that I wanted to make is that this word, it cuts them, man. And see, these Edomites, they'll reason better than Jake, man, when it comes to the scriptures, man, as far as being carnal. They may be carnal as hell, and we know that they're the wicked, but they'll actually reason with you, a little bit better than your average so-called black person or Hispanic or Native American. Because, again, Jake got that Stockholm syndrome real bad. Jake loves his kidnapper. He loves his oppressor. And that's why, they protect them so cold. Because they'll fight you. These people, your own people, will fuck you up over these people that have been oppressing them for hundreds of years. They will literally fight with you over those people, man. We've seen it. We've seen it. You know what I'm saying? We've seen them ready to put hands on brothers, throwing shit at brothers, threatening brothers, all this different stuff. So we've seen Jake go ape shit about his oppressor. He wants to save Massa. But again, you've seen videos where, we don't have nobody do nothing like that because it's really stupid. But videos of these Edomites really feeling sorry or sad, and they actually getting on their damn knees and kneeling down and kissing niggas' boobs. Which, like I said again, we're not into that, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't know who's who. Because an Israelite could look like a so-called white man. It's not a color thing. And that's one thing that when you come into this truth, you have to really realize and push that shit away. Everybody that's an Israelite is not going to look like, Wesley Snipes, man. They're not going to look like Mars Chestnut, or, whoever's dark out here. All Israelites are not going to look that way. It just is what it is. And we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And that seed goes through the Father. You have to realize after generation to generation, 4 or 5, it only takes really 2 generations, really, and it can wipe out your color. If a so-called black man sleeps with a so-called white woman, that could wipe out your color right immediately almost. It's kids that come out, man, blonde hair, blue eyes, but they're Israelites because their fathers are Israelites. That seed goes to your dad. It's very, very, very important to know when you come into this truth, man. But we do know that at the time of the Israelites, before this particular scattering of the captivity that we've been in since, 70 AD, so to speak, the men and women back then were dark-skinned people. They were a lot darker. Not all of them would look the same color, but, because it's different shades of brown. But they were a lot darker than they are today. You know what I'm saying? And we know for a fact that our Lord, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus, his name is H.I.M. He was a dark, melanated man. He was not this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy that you normally see today. And I seen an article yesterday. I wanted to go into it, but, it was an article on Leonardo da Vinci painting the Last Supper a mural or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they was talking about how, I guess after 20 years of him doing, I think it took him 20 years to do that shit, but anyway, all those figures that you're accustomed to seeing, all that stuff is like Renaissance art. That's Renaissance. That word Renaissance, it goes off into, a rebirth, so to speak. And, this is when Esau started to come up with his bullshit science and his bullshit math and his bullshit colleges, and all of a sudden they're professionals and every damn walk of life, but they whitewashed all the images and put their faces on things that had nothing to do with them. Esau is not original. Esau hasn't created anything original. Everything this guy has is stolen. All his ideas are stolen. All his technology is stolen. All the land that he's living on is stolen, man. He's not a fair fighter. He'll just come in with his sword. That's how he's been getting down. The Lord gave him the gift of the sword and did give him the fatness of the land. You know what I'm saying? That's his blessing. So this is what he's been living by. But now in these last days, all his bullshit is starting to be overturned. And that's that, I'm at this light, I can get this one, 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So the day that's being spoken of here is the day of Yahushua. which the world ignorantly calls Jesus. He can't come until these two things happen. And you know, other prophecies as well. But the falling away first is us falling away from our customs, our lineage, our ethnicity, so to speak, because we don't know who we are in these countries. We just calling ourselves French, you know, wherever the fuck we're scattered to, we're calling ourselves after the so-called white man and the names that he has, you know, especially here in the Americas. Hell, we calling ourselves Negroes. I mean, blacks, African Americans, you know, Hispanics, you know, Native American, all these different names. Those were names that was given to us by our enemy. So that was a part of our falling away and us not knowing who we are. Because if you tell Jake that they're an Israelite, they'll fight with you, man. They'll be like, no, I'm black and I'm proud. They stuck on that. But it also says, now this part of the prophecy is coming through right here. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So in these last days, the man of sin, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white race, they're being revealed as the wicked. Look at them. They're getting sloppy. Every other article you see in the news is all about them either shooting up a damn school or bombing somebody, you know, or just you know, just wickedness in general. I seen a video yesterday where the father and son, the father and his 19-year-old son, they fighting with the 20-year-old son because they caught this motherfucker in the bed sleeping with his mama. He in there banging her out. He banging his mama out. So the 19-year-old son, he ended up getting arrested for whooping his ass. He telling his mom, "Mom, you're not my mom." You know, it is, but you know, she in there just straight taking ride from her son. It's not no stepson either. Even if it was a stepson, it would still be wicked. But this is her son. She in there, you know, getting blasted. And get caught by the husband and the other son. I guess they came home, walked in on the shit. But this is Esau. You know, you're seeing a lot more stories and articles of them sleeping with the dogs, the pets. This one chick, they was asking her, you know, like those little street corner question motherfuckers standing there with a microphone. And they asked the chick, have you ever cheated on your boyfriend? And she's like, yeah, but just not with who you think it was. And it was like, what does that mean? She's like, he walked in on me and his dog was hitting me from the back. Like, you nasty slut bucket, boy. But anyway, I mean, hey, this is who you're dealing with. Then you can look at the earth. You can see the air quality is horrible. The food quality is horrible. You know, people are sick as hell. People are mean as hell. People just got all kinds of shit going on with them. They psychotic. They on medications. You know, and this place is grieving with this man being in power. Can't get around it, man. But again, you know, I just wanted to touch on the fact that when Esau hears this gospel as opposed to Jake hearing this gospel, it spins with them, man. They think. A lot of them motherfuckers probably be going home having nightmares. I've seen videos of Edomites walking away crying. Literally, bawling. Especially those little white chicks, because they really believe that the Lord is a white God. And when they get to hearing that, no, you're going into captivity, you know, because the brothers will break down the scriptures and they'll get it quicker than a nigga would. Because Jake got that Stockholm syndrome. Jake wants to save his oppressor, man. It's like you win in a big game. You win in the lottery. Say for instance, the lottery is $100 million. You win the $100 million jackpot, right? And you only want to keep $500 and you giving the rest to the so-called white man. That would be stupid as hell. And this is overall what Jake is trying to do when it comes to this good news. What the good news is you being an Israelite and the Lord is coming to get us out of the hands of our enemies. But Jake wants to, you know, take the enemy into the kingdom with him and let the enemy rule over his ass, even in what they call heaven. And if he can't be saved, they don't want nothing to do with it. And again, they don't ask about any of these other races of people. They never ask about any of these other races of people. They don't fuss and fight with you about Chinese people being saved. You ever notice that? They don't ever fight and fuss about Japanese people being saved, or no Palestinians being saved, or no, you know, Cambodians being. They first thing that's flying out of their mouth is the so-called white man. If he can't be saved, then I don't want nothing to do with it. What are you talking about? That can't be real. So Jake be holding it down for Esau, man. So I'm gonna end off there. I pray that this lesson was edifying, man. You know, just something I was meditating on as I was driving and listening to the other elders video. But with that, hey, stay strong. Continue on praying for the downfall of this kingdom, and just stay sturdy, man. Because these lessons, this gospel, these words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua cutting their asses to the core, man. And prayer is very powerful too. Continue on praying for the downfall of this man's kingdom, man, so we can get the fuck out of here. You should be tired of getting up, going and clocking in for these motherfuckers. Whether you got a headache, your damn foot hurt, your damn tooth hurt, your damn head hurt. You got all kinds of ailments. You done used up all your damn sick time, and this motherfucker still wants you to come in, even though you really need to stay at home. He don't care about you having an accident on the way to his damn job to punch in. He don't give a fuck. He don't care nothing about you, man. So you should be tired of just being here. Jake just too used to, just too situated, man, in this bullshit. You should be tired of this place, man. You should have a real fucking disdain for this place. You should be fucking angry with this fucking place, man. Not to say that you're gonna be out here lashing out at people, because you have to use wisdom, but you should have a real fucking disgust for this place, man, with this man running shit. So with that, I'm at my destination, Kwame Yashala, and the Bubble Ball.